welcome again to Bridget Breaking Barriers podcast. I'm excited that today we will be talking a little bit more about producing through the pandemic masterclass series. And I'm excited about this master that we have on today. We have Miss Monica Kelly, who is actually my cousin, sister, friend. And so I'm excited just to have her on. Monica, if you would just kind of tell us a little bit about yourself, introduce yourself to the people.
Hello. My name is Monica Kelly. Like Bridget said, I am a PK. I'm the daughter of Mary and Ivory Kelly of Queens. Woo! I'm one of 4 siblings. I have 3 siblings. I'm one of 4. I have 2 brothers and an older sister. By trade, schooling, I taught middle school for 13 years. I'm now the school counselor for the last 7 years. So I've been in the Department of Education in New York City for over 20 years now, and I serve students, parents, and staff members as the guidance counselor in the DOE. Some other things about myself: I'm a Christian. I'm a member at Greater Allen Cathedral. I'm a family person. I think I'm a creative. I like to do things, make things, create things. I love color. I don't wear much color, but I like color. I like to see flowers and nature. I think I'm an outside person. What else can I say about myself?
You're a runner.
I am a runner. We'll probably hear more about that later. I'm a runner. I'm part of the group Black Girls Run, Just Keep Running. I'm a supporter of Black Men Run, Black Runners Connect, and so on and so on. I consider myself to be an athlete. I've completed 3 full marathons, 2 world majors, and I am on a journey. Pray for me. I'm on a journey to complete a goal of running a half marathon in every state. And at this point, I'm currently holding at 39 states. 5 of my states been canceled this year so far, so kind of rethinking some goals for this year and next year, but I'm currently holding at completing a half marathon in 39 of those states. So I know a lot of people, but I always say I have a few friends, and I do have a great support system that support me in my endeavors. I have a great family, a big family, both sides, and I feel like they have influenced me. They are a big influence in the things that I do, who I am, and the things that I create too, because that's what lineage do. That's what the legacy that's what it's supposed to be. You pass down the greatness down to those that follow you.
That's good. And I always love that word, legacy. I think actually that's probably what pushed me a little bit more to actually move forward with doing the podcast and even coming up with the idea for the masterclass series. It was about, I guess, continuing the legacy of those that those have left behind me, before me, have left for me. And so I'm trying to make sure that I continue to pursue and build on the legacy that has already been left. So I always love that word, so I had to say something about that. Right. So today we'll be talking about, this is part 2 of staying mentally healthy. And so I'm really excited about it because as we all know, mental health is, we use that word kind of loosely, and when we use it, it can be used in different ways, but it means different things. And so I was having a conversation with Monica earlier, and we were talking about it, and she used the word umbrella, which I thought was a very accurate way of the word being used, mental health. So when you think of mental health, it's a umbrella, and so it includes vast different things, including actually being mentally healthy, but also being able to find and use services like counseling, which is one of the things that we talked about in our previous Staying Mentally Healthy series. So this is part 2. And so today we'll actually talk a little bit more about another side of mental health, which is self-care. And so just making sure that you're taking care of yourself and what that looks like, because how it looks for me might be totally different different than how it looks for you. And so Monica is on here because she's a counselor, one. She has worked with youth all her time, but when I think about self-care, she is great at making sure that she's okay. Number one, checking in on herself to see, asking herself those tough questions like, how are you really doing? Not, the pass by how you doing, but the how are you really doing, and kind of letting that sit and sink in a little bit, but also reaching out because she can be an extrovert. And so reaching out to other people. And so we'll talk a little bit more about how she's done that through this quarantine, because, we can't go over to our friend's house or go to the movies or go hang out at the mall or anything with our friends. So how are we during this time figuring out different ways of actually reaching out to other people? So before we get into that, Monica, I would love for you to share how you are continuing to break barriers in your life, since this is all about breaking barriers.
So I like how you began that question, because you said, how are you continuing, right? So we should never ever get to a place where we feel like, yes, I have arrived and that's it. Then you go sit down somewhere. So that's one way that I feel like I'm continuing to break barrier, is editing. This is not working. I got to push that to the side. Being open, because I can be rigid. I'm very, I have a regimen, a routine. And in life, you think I'm going to do this, do that, and then we're going to do this and that. And when 2 and 3 does not happen, and if you can end up being stuck in that area. So I've learned to being open, right? No, this is not the end of the path. This is just a detour, right? Adapt and shift. Like this is not working. That didn't happen. So now what? And actually taking the time to figure it out. That's one of the statements, the phrases that we use in our family. And look, this is not the end. Yes, this has happened. Now go sit down somewhere and what? Figure it out, because this is not the end. You have goals to reach, and no, you didn't reach it by going step 1, 2, and 3. Sometimes it's 21, 22, and 23. So I feel like editing, adapting and shift, still taking care of myself, focusing on me, because what good are you, especially if you're in the business of service, what good are you if you're not taking care of yourself and not taking care of self-care and addressing mind, body, and soul, right? Or emotionally, if you're not how can you take care? Sometimes I'm like, how can I take care of my students if I'm not taking care of or checking in with myself, right? But we have a lot of people with a lot of responsibilities. If you sick and laid out on the couch, your parents, some of us are helping take care of our parents. How can we go and visit and take care of our parents? So I like to say, focus on you first. Find the passion in the things that you do like. You actually like doing something. It is your job. Sometimes it is your job. You're actually doing what you love to do for work. So I find like editing, move and shift. Don't be stuck. Focus on yourself, find your passion and work that thing. It may not happen 1, 2, or 3, but once you find it, focus on your passion and work that thing until you're working it the best you can.
That's good. And that's good advice for all of us to take on. So thank you for sharing that. So we've been inside for about 2 months now. So what would you say that you've discovered or you've learned about yourself during this time?
So I think I've known this about myself, but it's definitely clear that I do need a routine. I set goals. I work with people with setting goals and accomplishing those goals and working through and making a plan to get to those goals. So I'm definitely the lister. I like to check things off the list. So it showed itself in a big way during the quarantine. Like I had thought it would be a little bit different. Like I'm gonna do this and then no, I'm not doing those type of things. I gotta work. So, I mean, I definitely have a structured routine. Like you wake up, you pray, grab your scripture. Like I literally wake up. Okay. Thank you, Lord. Say your prayer. I grab a scripture, open the blind, open the blinds, drink water. Like, not that I have it written down, but it's part of the routine. If I don't get up and drink that water, sometimes I don't get in enough water. If I don't work out in the morning, I know me. Come 3 o'clock, I'm normally kind of shut down after 3. I might be rejuvenated later on, but if it's not done by 3 o'clock, I know for a fact it's going to be on my list for tomorrow. So I make a routine. I set the goals, the intentions of the day, and I get to checking those things off, like, for work, certain things you need to accomplish for the day, and even personally. All right, did I check in on myself? What self-care is part of my routine already? And what else can I do? Because I'm feeling this way, or the TV, the news is too much. Now I need to regroup. So I have time for that. And I'm telling you, if it's part of my goal and it's before 3 o'clock, most likely it gets. So I do realize, I'm reminded even more that I'm definitely a routine following person, because I know I can get more done. And I'm a morning person. So by 3, I am tired. By 3, I am over it.
No, let's be realistic. By 11 o'clock, you tired because she up at 4.
Sometimes by 11, I'm like, whew, like, okay, the work's done. I checked in on the babies. I don't have a meeting to, sometimes I am like dying down, but I do have afternoon meetings. So I know I have to get those things done. But I am an early riser, and I do get a lot done before most people even wake up.
Yeah, like me. That would be me. Yeah, definitely. She'll text me early in the morning, and it'll be like, wait, and she'd be like, girl, please, I done did this, and this, and it's 7 o'clock in the morning, and I'm like, I'm just rolling over. Like,
I got the chicken in the oven. I seasoned my dinner for the day. I'm like, please, I've been on a roll. So that's how I am. I'm my father's child. My dad is an early riser, and it's just good to get up. Nobody's up, no noise. The birds are chirping. They're still chirping, and the sun is out. I don't know. It just gives me that energy to just get up and do what I have to do early.
Yeah. Well, that brings up a whole nother point. Just everybody knowing what works for them. And so because it works for you doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to work for me. Because if I wake up at 4 o'clock in the morning, y'all don't even want to have a conversation with me. You don't want to look at me. I am not a nice person, right? Because I know
I jump people into being my friend. You got to accept early morning texts if you want to be my friend. That's how you get jumped in. It's right. The clause on a contract. Because my mind is going first thing in the morning. I have an idea for this. Bridget, I was thinking about this. I'm fresh. So I think that's when I'm fresh and ready to go, and the ideas just flow.
Right. I think that's another point, just even talking about like friendship and just being able to accept everyone for who they are. So just because you're a morning person doesn't mean that because I'm not a morning person, we can't be friends or we can't be cool or hang out or whatever. I'll catch you about 8 o'clock when I read my text messages, and that's okay, so we have to be able to kind of learn to adapt with one another and understanding that everybody is who they are. Just like you want to be accepted for who you are, you want somebody else to accept you for who you are. Mm-hmm. So I think that's a great point. So like I said before, another part of mental health is about self-care. And so I know we don't necessarily always talk about self-care as we should, or we don't necessarily practice it. So I would love to hear from you, Monica, to kind of share with us about what is self-care to you, and also how do you practice it? I'm sure you shared a little bit, but I would love to hear a little bit more.
So to me, self-care is when you like preserve or improve your own health, your own well-being, your own happiness. I talked about editing. This doesn't work for me, then I'm upset after I talk to this person. Sometimes self-care is not picking up the phone when a person, because it's going to disrupt, like, I'm good, I'm not saying we always skipping through the tulips, but it's going to do something and shift something on the inside. Maybe don't take that phone call. So it's taking personal responsibility to practice those actions that help you preserve. I like that word. I hear people say preserve your peace, right? Or improve your own health, your well-being, and your happiness. So this is not anything indulgent and all day you just laying around like a full day spa. Because I feel like when you say self-care, people feel like this is like you, oh, you're being self, like this all day spa day. It's not being selfish, right? I said earlier, if you're not taking care of yourself, how can you provide a service or be there for other people? Not even as a profession, but even as a friend, as a daughter, as a mother. How can you even be there for them if you're not taking care of yourself? So, like you said, it's different things for different people. Sorry. It can be that prayer in the morning, that walk, right? Um, Particularly, I scrapbook. I get this from my aunts. My aunt put me on to scrapbooking. I love looking at pictures. I can spend hours just looking at a stack of pictures and organizing them. That's another thing. I'm an organizer. If I'm feeling, even at work, if I feel a certain way, I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna clean my junk drawer. I'm gonna clean my closet. 10 minutes to straighten the pencils, the pens out, by color, something to just kind of lose yourself in. And guess what? You took a minute from whatever was bringing stress or changing your situation on the inside, then you can address it later on. I do work out. I have a stationary bike. Sometimes I jump on that. What else? I organize. What else I like to do? Scrapbook. Run is a biggie for me. So this is not, of course, physically. Exercise is good for everybody. I'm not talking about running because running is not for everyone. And I myself even have a love-hate for running, but I don't want to let it go. Even with our arthritis, I don't want to let it go fully because this is the time where I am taking with myself, talking to myself. I set the intentions of the day. What's my plan for today? Then I sometimes talk to God. I'm like, God, well, what's going on? Do I need to call? I'm having full-blown conversations. And yes, most times I have on a earbud. I tune into, maybe if I'm listening to someone or to a song, I'll tune into that. But this is that few minutes, okay, a long time, some long runs, but this is the time that I take to check in with myself. So for you, it might not be running. It could be yoga. Okay, if some people are scared of those words, it's where you stretch and breathe. Okay, for those church people. So it's nothing wrong with spending some time in the stretching, and we're talking 5 minutes. We're not talking like self-care. Like I said, it's not a whole day of indulgence. Don't get me wrong. Sometimes you need to take that for yourself, but self-care are these things that we know will help improve our health, our well-being, and our happiness, like I said before. So some things are already built into our routine. It's already built in. You're already going to do it because you know it helps you in the long run. Eating right is self-care. Is that going to preserve my health? Is that going to make me feel happy? You know, when you're eating something good, I'm not talking about, overdoing it, but when you eat healthy, that makes you feel better.
Right.
So that's what self-care is to me, and that's how I address self-care for myself. They're already built in. Sometimes you need to do an extra step some days, but 2 minutes. I like to color. I told y'all I like colors. I'm a creative. I try to paint, but definitely I like to color. I have dope coloring books for a few minutes, turn the news off, just color, put on some music. So it's not a long drawn out thing. It's breathing. Take 5 minutes to take a few inhales and exhale. And then guess what? Get yourself together, assess the situation, and move on with your day.
Right. That's good. That's good. And so you talked a lot about checking in with yourself. But also I think it's important not only just check in with yourself first, of course, but it's important for you also to check in with those that are around you. So friends, loved ones, just different people that you come in contact with. So how often would you say would be a good enough time for you to say that you check in, number one, with yourself, but also with those loved ones, those friends, those family members?
With me personally, with myself, I would say daily. And sometimes more than that, because you can tell when something changed with you, like maybe a little attitude or a little, and sometimes, full-blown conversation in your head. Why I'm acting like this? Why I'm being snippy, or why I feel sad all of a sudden. Mm-hmm. I know sometimes I'll call my mother and she'll be like, hey, how you doing? I'm like, I don't feel good. And she'll say, emotionally or physically? And then, I'm like, And then, she would say, well, if it's emotional, I'm sad over something. Well, did you pray? And I'm like, I skipped this step this morning. Sometimes you skip some of your habitual self-care points. And you're like, oh, and is it going to wipe away what's going on or what was on your mind? No, but it may, not all the time, but it may give you strength to overcome that feeling or whatever is going on with you that may have shifted during the day. So it's important you check in yourself, and when you see yourself, not saying we should be just smiling and skipping through the tulips, but when you feel like a little shift, like, okay, what's that about? What happened? What did I watch? What did I see? Who they said something and it's not sitting well with you. Assess the situation and decide what you need to do. Take care of it, and then guess what? Move on. Family. So I have 2 parents that are quarantined. They're over 70. I pretty much speak to them every day. I better catch them before 11 or 12 o'clock because they will be in 11 and 12 o'clock prayer. It's important. See, that part I know is important because if I don't catch them at a certain time, they're going to be in prayer, and I don't want to disturb that. But me personally, I check in with them daily, which is not strange. It's normal. What is strange is that I can't go see them or stop by the house. Just see them and walk through the house. What y'all doing? What you cook, Ma? That regular part routine. It's strange. Like, I can't do that. My mother's not letting me in. If when I get there, she'd be like, "Get me in the backyard." And she stands at the door and I give her whatever I need. Like, she is not letting me in. But even that is like strange. But that's self-care too. Because I've had moments, even when I was on the job, physically on the job, I'm like, I need to go see my mother, and now know what's going on. You just need those connections. So me personally, I would say daily. My friends, I check in on them often. I have a support group that I hear from every day. It may not be a how you doing. It might be a joke. That's another thing. Laugh. If you're not laughing or you need to change something, you need a joke. Like, it's good to laugh. You feel good. It's good to cry too, but sometimes you need a good laugh. Like, they cutting up. And I get these messages from Bridget and my brother. Sometimes we need a good laugh. How did I get to laugh? But I would say checking on your parents often, those friendships, your support system often. That's me. And I have my girlfriend Mel calls it Friend Nation, the Friend Nation. So I've met people in different areas of my life, and then I've met their friends in different areas of their life. Like, I've had one of my girlfriend's girlfriends come speak to my girls group. So sometimes the Friend Nation, maybe not as often because they're friends of friends, but it's good to get together. I've Zoomed. I have meet up with my girls still on Zoom, and we kind of check in. If not daily, but every other day or at least monthly for us to get together, check in. How are y'all doing? If you need any support, just to let each other know that we're still here. Just the friendship has not changed. We're still here. So as often as you need, because sometimes your friends don't know what you need unless you reach out. You can't. And I had a problem with this. This a whole nother, I'm sorry, Bridget, this a whole nother. I had a problem because being who I am, how I am, and I guess the counselor thing too, I feel like I check up on people a lot, often. Those layers of friends, those layers of cousins, I probably don't check in as often, but we've been meeting, but certain layers of people, and you check in because that's who you are. If somebody comes to my mind, I send them a message. It could be 4 o'clock in the morning, but y'all all right? It's a quick something. I'm not asking your business, but I send a quick something. Because I don't like when people say, "Oh, I was just thinking of you. I was just thinking about you." If I wouldn't have called, I wouldn't have known that. Mm-hmm. So I try my hardest when somebody comes to my mind, I haven't seen so-and-so on social media. Let me send them a quick whatever. I do that often. And being that that's how I am, sometimes you expect it to be reciprocated, but everybody don't show love and concern the same way. So remember I said I have to adapt and shift and get over it, because I can't stop being me because other people are not
Right.
like me.
Right.
They just show their love and concern maybe every other week or
Yeah.
once a month,
Yeah.
or when we meet up, we hug up like no gaps in between our connection. So I'm that way. Other people are not that way, but you know who your support system is. And if you do need that sister, girlfriend support, reach out.
Right.
I had to learn that. Reach out. You need it. Look, I need to talk to you. Or look, I need to get together. I need to see your faces.
Yeah.
This is what I need. Stop by. Right? So, and I create those spaces for me. I mean, my girlfriends benefit, but I create that space so they can check in with each other and just be them, and for me too, so I can know that my support system is there.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. So that's good. You brought up a whole lot of points. One that I want to point out is, and we talked about it a little bit about it earlier in regards to understanding how other people are and how they function, and it might not be the same way that you function. And so I'm the same way as well. I kind of check in on people, and I had a moment in time where I kind of felt a way that they don't necessarily do the same thing. Well, that's not how they communicate. That's not how they roll. You know what I'm saying? So
That's not really love.
right. So I can't be mad. Just like they talk about love languages and how everybody has a different love language. Well, just because my love language is physical touch, it's not. But if my love language is physical touch and yours is acts of service, just because you didn't show me the physical touch doesn't mean that you don't love me. And so I think we have to, when we operate with our friends, we have to recognize that. We have to understand that. That we're all different and that we all do things a little bit differently. But also in that, we have to make sure that we are meeting other people's needs, but also we have to communicate our needs to other people. And I think a lot of times we get mad at people and they don't even know that you even feel it.
Attitude.
Right, straight up attitude.
That's life. But yeah, it's true.
So it's important.
And I teach my students that ask, communicate, recognize what triggered you, what's the emotion, and then say, what do you need? What do you need now to move on from here? I have no problem with emotions and feelings, and all of that is how we express them, right? So what do you need now? So right. I do that with my students all the time.
And that was another good point that you made, was about triggers. Not only the triggers that we experience from other people, but things within ourselves. So we were talking about checking in with ourselves, and you were hunky dory, and all of a sudden now you're feeling away, and you need to ask yourself a little bit more questions in depth, like how you were talking about, why am I feeling this way? Where did this come from? And then you need to, whether it's a physical list or a mental list, but you need to figure out what those triggers are, because that's the only way that you're going to be able to work around it. If you continue to hit this same trigger every time, what can I do within myself to actually adapt so that I don't allow myself to get in the same situation every time? Every time this happens, I'll allow this to happen. Well, what are the tools in my little toolkit that I need to pull out so that I'm better equipped to actually deal with those particular triggers? So I think that's a big point.
And if you need help in that area, there's something there possibly, who can I talk to about this?
That's good.
So it might be a therapist or a counselor, or if you may have to reach out for help in those areas to figure out something's not right. Every time I do this, it could be in different areas of your life, but it's the same situation. It goes down the same way. I think there's something there. There's a barrier there. So maybe I need some outside help or some outside assistance. Ask for it. Most of us have health insurance. Use it.
Yeah. Sorry. No, that's a good point. And I think a big issue too in general is just people being vulnerable, whether it's you being vulnerable with yourself enough to ask those questions, but also being vulnerable with your friends. And another question is, if you can't be vulnerable with them, are they really your friends? So, or is it just your lack of trust? Maybe you have some trust issues. So it could be something that's a little bit deeper, which goes into asking yourself questions and perhaps going to seek resources that can actually help you, whether it's a therapist, or maybe it's just a group, or just having, somebody was talking to me the other day about like a board of directors, kind of like, but this is like your friends. So
Right.
these are the people who are going to hold you accountable, not those people who are going to tell you what you want to hear, but those people who are going to like right. Yeah, the nation. So like those people who are really going to hold you accountable. Maybe you need to have a little meeting with your board of directors or your nation or whatever it is that you want to call it, so that you can kind of figure out some things. You know what? I've been struggling with this. Have you noticed this about me? Can you know, help me with this? So therapy isn't always necessarily actually going to a licensed counselor, but sometimes it could just be just in the confines of just your friends and just being around your board of directors or your nation, to kind of help you to kind of go in and check in and be there for those people. So I think all of that was great.
And it's funny you brought that up, because sometimes when you just say things, you know, with people who you trust and who, you know, you're vulnerable with, when you say things, you're like, why do I think that? That sounds dumb. That sounds crazy. When you hear yourself,
you hear it, yeah.
Certain things. I remember my cousin speaking about her daughter. Was like, who told you that? Like, that's you know, where'd you hear that from? Like,
right.
How do you believe in these things, like about yourself and about who you are, right? And then you have to have some other words in. Self-talk is like a whole nother conversation, but that's why it's good to talk things through with that friend nation, or with a therapist, or with a counselor, or, you know, those people who you trust and feel like will genuinely be there for you, help you talk out some things. Because when you hear yourself say certain things, you're like, I didn't know that I felt that way. And it sounds, I don't like to use the word crazy, but it sounds like that's not God. I mean, that's, you know, that's not God. That's not.
No, that ain't right. Right.
That's not doing anything to uplift me or make things better. And that's not what I read somewhere. We talk about, you know, that's not where I read in the book, you know. So sometimes you do need to talk things out. So I'm all for it to whoever you feel comfortable with talking to.
Yeah. And so I've often talked about too, journaling. For me, that can be therapeutic. So just kind of writing some things down. So for me, I'll just sit down and just write whatever comes to mind. Just write. It don't have to make sense. It don't have to be organized. Just write, and you'll be amazed the types of things that actually come out just from you doing that. So that in itself can be therapeutic. Everybody's not a writer. Maybe some people have to talk to people. And so I have some friends, I literally will have it's not even a conversation. They just talking. And I'm just there to just listen. And sometimes it's about just hearing yourself say certain things. And in that moment, you can figure things out, or, you know, that don't make sense. Sometimes you have to just say it out loud. That don't make sense. Kind of like how you were talking about, wait, what?
You have to change those thoughts and ideas that you have, because it doesn't make sense.
Right. So I think that's another good part of self care, and taking care of yourself and checking in with yourself. So we're gonna shift just a little bit, and you actually talked about, actually, no, let's go back to laughter. So you had made a comment about laughter and how laughter is a good thing, and sometimes you just need a good laugh. So during these times, I've been strategic about not listening to the news, because that's a trigger for me. You know what I'm saying? I don't want to be down. I ain't trying to, it's too much going on for me to be down all the time. Like, I can hear the information, but I don't have to keep it there, right? So I've been strategic about finding content that makes me laugh, whether it's little videos on YouTube, or I've been on what's that thing, TikTok. I sound like an old person saying it like that. What's that thing?
Yeah.
But on TikTok, on Instagram, and I'm always sharing stuff with y'all, because I'm like, this is too good to just keep to myself, you know. But I truly believe that laughter can be therapeutic. And you talked a little bit about it itself, but I've been intentional. I don't know how other people are, but I've been intentional to seek things that are going to make me laugh. If anybody knows me, you know, or anybody in my family for that matter, you know, we love The Cosby Show and A Different World, like to the point where we know the lines verbatim, like, you know, quoting lines to each other, like, where this from, what episode was this, you know what I'm saying? So I've been strategic about going to find those things that actually are make me laugh or are helpful to me. So I'll go and just watch A Different World. I bless you, it's on Prime. And so is Cosby Show. So I'll just go and watch episode after episode, or I know the episodes enough, so I'll just, yeah, I want to see this one, like Vanessa and the Wretches. That's always gonna be a classic. That's gonna be a good one, you know what I'm saying? So I go and I seek those things. Yeah, she went to have big fun.
But I mean, that's when you need to take a break. We're not talking about going out to dinner, well, we can't go out anywhere, but something big and elaborate. Let me take a break from this or whatever's going on right now. I need a good laugh, and you put on your show. You know?
Yeah,
what I mean?
Yeah. So
go ahead.
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say that's a part of self-care, is knowing when you need what and at what time you need to give that self to yourself. And also, you also talked about creating the space. So one thing about me and you is that one of our giftings is to be creative in bringing people together and figuring out a way to kind of bring people together. And that's kind of like our gifting, or some things that we enjoy doing, but it brings us power, and it kind of edifies ourselves and just kind of makes us feel good. So that's a part of, I guess, our self-care. And so during this time, we've been real creative in regards to like how we go about doing that. So I was going to ask you to kind of speak a little bit about it, some of the things we've done with our family, with your friends. You know, she's always, okay, let me tell this part. So me and her are the activities
committee, directors of activities. We done heard it all.
It's a different name every time, I swear. So we usually around Christmas time. So when we come together every year for Christmas, we get together and we'll have like different activities. This is the funny part. And so this is where it's interesting to understand your friends. And so Monica is a very structured and planned person. I am a very go with the flow, still creative, but kind of go with the flow, up and down, more creative, right? So it's always funny to know our different personalities and how we kind of work together. I will come up with ideas at the last minute. That's my thing. Like, and I'll wing it. I do pretty good with winging it. Not saying that that's a good thing, but that's I kind of operate really well in the winging flow.
The creativity flows at the last minute.
Right. So we'll be planning for like Christmas. September, Monica's already created a list. She has the activities down packed. Like, she has all this stuff. December 1st is when I probably start. And by the time I come up with my little idea or ideas, she done planned the whole she's playing like the whole thing. So I just think it's funny how like we wing, but at the end of the day, it still works because we all come together, we all have a good time. And so I think it's important for you to kind of understand how you and your friends operate and how y'all flow with one another and how y'all can kind of work together. But I wanted you to share a little bit about some of the things that you've been doing since we've been quarantined, to create those spaces that you were talking about.
Well, first, two things I want to say is I think that's part of what we do, the gifts of helps. We want to serve, we want to help and do something and set it up and organize, right? And serve others. Another thing is too, sometimes you need a project. For me, this is my project. Whose birthday coming up? My brother, he was like, listen, he texted us like, listen, my wife y'all good with that Zoom thing? Y'all figure it out and y'all get back to me. Whatever, just let me know what y'all need. So, and sometimes I feel like that's where I'm creative, where I can lose myself in looking for ideas, creating my own ideas, is through those moments when I'm planning. That's self-care because it makes me happy. Oh, that's cute. Oh, I like that. We're going to have a good time with this. That makes me happy knowing that we're going to do this thing and it's going to make others happy, right? So even before the quarantine, I feel like different holidays and different celebrations that we have, sometimes being that, how should I say this, Bridget? In a lot of my circles, they don't drink, they don't dance, they don't indulge in what people call partying, right? But that does not mean we cannot have a good time. Right? So that means we have to create that space to laugh, to be competitive, because my family, for some reason, both sides are very competitive. They want to win. And of course, we always have, and they know if I'm coming to something, we also have our little goodies and our little prizes. How about last Christmas? I had a whole piece of luggage with just activities and prizes. That's how invested I was in making this time that we had together great. So there are a few things in the work. I do help and support families support families in Zoom parties and activities. So we're not just on the Zoom, just chit-chatting, it gets quiet, now what, we're looking around. So we actually have some engaging discussions, sometimes games and activities that people can actually be doing something and competing, nothing wrong with some friendly competition at that time, and just to make that time special. Also, so that's it, that Zoom, what else have I been working on? Also some other ideas where people who are not, we have people that say, I'm not creative like that, or how should I do that? Or that sounds like fun. So, I do have some other ideas in the works of, I don't even know if I should say it, but in promoting hosts, helping you host your own party. That's the second thing that I'm currently working on. And I do have a girls group, even before the pandemic. I do have a girlfriend group that we meet up. We try to meet up once a month before the pandemic. Now I'm still trying to hold fast to meeting up once a month now. The last time we met, what was the activity? I can't remember.
It was just kind of like a girls' night
in. Yeah. So
we did a couple of activities.
We did activities. So, that one was just pure checking in, chit chat, seeing how everyone was doing. We did play some games. I am currently hosting tonight. We're doing show and tell because I feel like so many people are being creative, learning new things, falling in love with old skills and gifts that they had before, because we do have a little more time at home. You can't go out and just hang out. Right. So I feel like some people are taking a Zumba class or trying some new things. So I'm having show and tell this evening for my girls group today. And I just like to create the space for people to come together, do different things. And it's good for me. I like to plan, like I'm an organizer. I like to plan, I like to find different things for people to do, people to attend. So I create the space for that, so.
Yeah. And I think that's something too that I always tell people is that so a lot of times people complain about certain things not happening, or we don't have this, or they don't do that, or whatever. And it's just like, no, it's your responsibility to, if you don't have whatever it is that you feel like you need, it's up to you to create whatever it is that you want. And if you don't feel like that you can actually do it yourself, chime into those resources that are around you that can help you create whatever it is that you feel like you can create. So I feel like for me and my friends group, I'm kind of the same way. Like I remember having a game night. I did a Friendsgiving one time and having a game night, and everybody was like, all right, Bridget, what we doing today? Like that was the expectation. It was just like, well, why we can't just be here and just have a good time? It was like, nope, we know you gotta stop playing.
Mother's Day, why we just can't eat dinner with our mother Oh, what we doing? My mother, you got activities? What? Why do I have to have activities? But of course I do with my prizes for us, something for us to do together. And I think it brings us together.
Right, right.
You know, whatever group together.
Yeah.
Why not?
And that's important. I think it's really, really important. And so, and I think too, like during this particular time, because you know that everybody is kind of dealing with a roller coaster of emotions. And so it's important for us to create those type of atmospheres for somebody to get a good laugh or to feel celebrated. Like for Mother's Day, we did the Mother's Day award show. Like being a mother is like one of the hardest jobs, so of course you want them to feel appreciated in that moment. So what are some things that you could even create? Because sometimes and we talked about this on the other part of mental health, sometimes it's just good for you to do something for somebody else because that makes you feel good. And so it's important for you to figure out whatever it is that is for you and what works for you. So it's just important for you to create the spaces that you want, create the atmospheres that you want. So before we close, I would love for you to share something that you want to, actually, before we do that, so you're a counselor. And as a counselor, I'm sure you see and hear so many different things from the students that you work with. And so I would love for you to speak to some of the parents out there and some advice that you could give to them. Just with the ins and outs of being a teenager can be very hard, and the way they are teenagers now is different than how we were when we were teenagers. So I would love for you to just kind of give some advice to some of the parents in regards to how they can help with guiding their children during this time and just in general.
Well, my brain just did a whole big thing, but for the parents, I think it's important for them to take care of their self first. Self-care, we're talking about self-care, checking in with yourself first, making sure that you are okay, making sure that you ate, you know, you walked, you did something for yourself, even if it's 5 minutes. And then to check up on your child, of course I'm gonna say student. This is definitely a difficult time. I taught science for 13 years in middle school. And then I switched over, got a second master's degree in school counseling. So I've done that for 7. I feel like I have such a perspective of what happens in the building because I was on both sides and kind of in the middle between teachers and administrators. So the expectation, yes, we want the students to learn, but realize if they're hungry, if they're upset about something that happened last night, if they're stressed out over schoolwork, like in their own way, yes, they are stressed, they're sad, they're scared, they have their own emotions. They're not thinking about school. I'm sorry.
No, that's right.
They're not thinking about yours. I had to realize that. That's why certain students that I had back in the, they could care less about my little science lesson that I thought it was so great and wonderful and been planning for weeks for with my experiments. I'm serious. They could care less about me and my little science experiment. So that's why it's important that we check in with the whole child, not just work, get up, 8 o'clock, check in attendance. No, how you feel today? What's going on? What you have, check. Be involved in what you have to do today. Sometimes they check out too. Just like I said, sometimes I have to check out and take a moment for myself. They will check out here or there. This is tough for not just the parents, but the students also. They're going to check out. So now give them a choice. Maybe, do you want to take a ride? I had one of my friends said that it benefited him to take a quick ride on his bike in the neighborhood. His daughter got up all upset about a lesson and I got to go back for second period, all upset. He was like, you know what? If it worked for me, maybe a bike ride will work for her. And they went on a quick little, they didn't go far and wide. They put on their mask and their gloves, jumped on the bike and took a spin around in the neighborhood. And she came back and it kind of focused, brought her back to her focus. Did she still love the class? No, but she had a minute to herself. This is self-care. Yes, it was in a form of exercise, but she also got fresh air. She also kind of stepped away from what she needed, cleared her mind, and then she could come back and address the assignment. That's what we need to be providing for our, I'm gonna keep saying students, but that's what we should be providing for our children who are at home. Those moments to take a break, even during the school day. I hope I don't get in trouble. Even during the school day, you know what, you've been at it, whatever, let's change it up. Let's do something else. And it's up to you to provide, like we said, that space, those opportunities for them. And it's not always about talking about how you feel. Sometimes they just need to color. Some students journal, you know, if you're talking about preteens and teenagers, because I'm in middle school, some students are creative, poetry. I had a student, they painted 3 paintings. So whatever's in the house, y'all have to learn how to be creative, give them that space to, and options to do something different, to take care of themselves in a different way than just beating them over the head about schoolwork, because sometimes it is tough for them too. So just be aware. I had a parent, I'm not gonna say who it was, I had a parent, the child didn't wanna go sit outside, just to sit on the stoop or go for a bike ride. And then they started thinking, they spoke to me and they started thinking, it was like, yo, are you scared to go outside? And guess what? The baby said, yes, I'm scared to go outside. They hear the news too. They sitting with you too. So they have some fears and some concerns too. So guess what? We need to have conversations, but these other areas for their self-care, whatever that thing is, working on the puzzle, playing a game for 30 minutes. I don't know what all the young people, but we need to, what the young people like to do, but we need to provide that time and that space for them to whatever that self-care is. Okay, let's do this for like 10 minutes. We'll have lunch and then maybe we'll go back to one assignment for the day and then in the day. Be flexible. I talked about that earlier. Listen, you got to adapt and shift. It's not going to be the same regimented day or perfect and lunch at 12 and 1 o'clock. It's not going to be like every day. So we parents have to adapt and shift along with the child wherever they are. So that's what because I even have a support group for my staff members. So sometimes they need a break from sometimes they need to talk to adults. If you're single, listen, all you see is children. All you're doing is reading kids' work and math work and on 5th and 6th grade. Sometimes you need the contact with some adult people, some grown folk conversation, whatever that is. But you know what I mean, talk to adults on the adult level. So sometimes you have to provide the space for these for self-care to happen. So that's the responsibility of the parents, but I make it my business to check in on some parents too. Some parents have 4 and 5 children, all on laptops, all at the same time. It's like a mini classroom. The parents need to be checked in on too. You know, not just coming down. Some parents I don't even call. I know this situation. So we all just need to be more aware and be more open to what's really going on, not just in our own little box at home and we good, but some people really having those days and they need to be checked in on too. And some tips of self-care. Maybe you need to go for a little walk. You know, if 2 parents in the house, let mommy go for a little walk and I'll do whatever I have to do, or go for a donut. Whatever you need to do to take a break and then come back and you're ready to move on. So parents need self-care, students and the staff members in the school, they all need that support.
That's good. That's real good. Thank you for sharing that, and thank you for those words of advice. I've heard from mothers who will hide in the bathroom. So whatever it takes for you to make it happen. You got to go to the bathroom anyway. You got to take a shower. You got to use the bathroom. So if that's your time, that's your time. Allow it to be. And just create that space for whatever it is that you need. So before we close, I would love for you to just kind of share something that you want to encourage the people with. How would you, before we close out, just share some encouraging words that you would share with people in general?
Just what I've said before, self-care, we're using this word, it's not self-indulgent, it's not you being selfish, it's you taking care of yourself and doing what you need to do for yourself, whether it's breathing, 10 minutes of breathing by yourself in the corner before everybody wakes up. If it is prayer or meditation, yoga, exercise, all of these things contribute to your well-being, how you are, and your happiness. So whatever you need to do, take those minutes for yourself.
Yeah. And it's okay for it to just be minutes. Okay. It doesn't have to be hours. That's
No,
good.
it's okay. 5 minutes, 10 minutes, if you bless 15, 20 minutes. But some people already have it engraved in. But if you need to step away and grab you a couple more minutes here or there because something messed with you that day or triggered with you that day, there's nothing wrong. It's not indulgent. It's not like you're not being selfish. I say take it. Take your time. And make sure your children are doing the same things too. And check in on your teachers. This has been, I'm sorry, I'm going. This has been the turnaround of what we had to do and prepare for remote learning. I still have, I don't want to say that, but what we had to do to this quick turnaround to start providing remote learning for our students, they are doing more work than what they were doing. Yes, you are home. So let me clarify this. Parents are not homeschooling, all right? Teachers are preparing the lessons. They are preparing the lessons. They're providing the lessons. They're doing the schooling. Parents are supporting their students at home. It's a whole nother thing in what the teachers are doing, the lessons and the assignments and the check-ins and all of that, what they're doing. And I commend the teachers for that quick turnaround, what they're providing. Check in on your teacher too. Teachers need check-ins too. I guess I'm biased, but a quick check-in. Thank you for your help. And after you ask your questions, parents, thanks for your help. Just let them know that you do appreciate them. I know I'm all over the place. I'm sorry.
I would actually add to that and just say, just based off of what you were just saying, during this time, I think it's allowed me to recognize the need for grace and for empathy. And so during this time, we have to make sure that we understand that number one, it's not all about you. Like my little saying is, you cute and all, but it ain't all about you. And so just like you're going through, the child is going through, the teacher is going through, we're all going through. Everybody is dealing with some type of issue, whether yours is magnified or smaller, whatever the case is, everybody's going through something during this time. And so I think that it is important for us all to show empathy to other people in their situations, but also give grace to them. So what, she didn't do it the way you thought it should have been done. You know what I'm saying? She's doing the best that she can. So we all just have to give grace and communicate effectively. So that doesn't mean that you don't say anything, but you can say something in love, you know what I'm saying? And with a little bit of grace, knowing that you could potentially be in that same type of situation down the line. So just always, I think that's my biggest takeaway from this time is just to be more empathetic for people, but also give them grace, because just because somebody didn't do it the way you thought that it should be done doesn't mean that it's not right, or they should go to hell for it or something, you know what I'm saying? Like, sometimes we just go a little bit too far. So I think that's a great point that you made, was just to be a little bit more empathetic and to show grace to other people. So thank you so much for your time.
Thanks for having me.
And you mentioned some of the things that you have going on. So I would love for you to share about what people can look forward to from you, but also how they can follow you if they so choose to.
So I am developing some ideas. I don't want to give too much, somebody take my ideas, but I am developing Post in a Box, where these activities and parties that you may have, but you don't know how to set it up, especially virtually. I'll provide ideas where you can have a successful event. And if you want to be part of my girlfriends group, monthly girlfriends group, you can inquire. I am incognito on Facebook and on IG. I'm in the school system. I have 20 years worth of students out there. So my tag is Mo Love Kelly on Instagram and Mo Love Kelly on Facebook. No TikTok yet, and I'm not on Twitter.
I'm on Twitter, but I still can't figure it out, so I don't get on it. All right. Well, thank you so much for your time. And thank you all for your time and for joining us for another masterclass series. I'm excited about this, and I'm also excited about what is to come. Monica, did you want to share anything else before we close out?
No, I think I said everything that I wanted to say. Show grace to everyone and practice self-care daily. Check in with yourself daily.
Yeah, that's good. Well, thank you so much. And until next time, we'll see you again next week. Bye.